Hey everyone, welcome back to the Web3 Leaders Podcast. My name is Colin Fitzpatrick, and today I'm super excited to have a friend of mine, Brandon Tatum. We have been friends for a little while. We've worked on some deals together, and I'm super excited to have him on the podcast because Brandon, when I got to know him, was working for Gala Games. He was general counsel and head of music globally for the juggernaut that we know of Gala Games in the blockchain, gaming, and entertainment space. We've had some amazing conversations, and I wanted to get on here to share some of those stories with you, but also talk about his new venture called Fifth Horizon, where he is kicking off a consultancy with some pretty awesome people, and I'm really excited. So, Brandon, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be here. And hey, my whole life is talking about music and now Web3. So I'm excited to be here and talk through it with you.
Awesome. Well, there's nothing more I like to do than to nerd out with fellow nerds around everything to do with blockchain and Web3. So how about you start by telling our audience a little bit about you, your background, and really how you got to where you are today?
Sure. Yeah, I have a bit of an unusual background for sure. It's unique. My main sort of area expertise is music. So I come from the music industry. Before I was global head of music at Gala Games, Gala Music, and general counsel there, I was director of business and legal affairs at SoundCloud for their
Nice.
artist services division, label services division, after they acquired Repost in, I believe, 2019. So I worked with a ton of independent artists in that role. And then before that, I was director of business and legal affairs at SM Entertainment, which is the pioneer of modern K-pop, one of the biggest entertainment conglomerates out of South Korea. So I've worked heavily in the K-pop space, and that really started when I moved to Japan and lived there for 5 years between 2013 and 2019. And I worked heavily in the J-pop industry and then in the K-pop industry, and then for a very large Big Four Japanese law firm doing commercial and technology transactions on an international level. So that's the most recent background. Before that, I was representing various very well-known music artists and producers, as well as up-and-coming emerging artists. So I've always had a passion for music, really.
Amazing. So perfect background for exactly what we want to talk about. Before I kind of get deep into it, tell us a little bit about your role in Gala. I mean, being general counsel, head of music globally, you know, I've been fairly deep in the industry for about 3 years, but you were a whole lot more deeper. Kind of want to get, some of the stories that you have around what the transformation that you've seen over the last little while, and where you think it's going in the medium future.
So at Gala, I initially started as general counsel, and pretty quickly thereafter, I think within 4 or 5 weeks, I was promoted to VP and global head of music, and really tasked with, helping build out the music proposition, and particularly with artist acquisition, getting artists on the platform. And a lot of that has to do with my own personal network of artists and people in the music industry, but also a lot of education, because still a lot of artists don't understand Web3 and how it works and what it means to put their music on the blockchain and how the rights work and how they're going to get paid, all these sorts of questions that I really spent a lot of time when I wasn't, organizing events or going out and acquiring artists. I was educating them about how it works. And the same with partners too. So partners in the music industry, whether that be major indie or indie record labels, looking to enter into the Web3 space, also need education. And it's very important because if you make the wrong move in the space, it could cause permanent damage to you, your brand, and your fan base. And speaking of that, it's particularly relevant to the Korean market, actually, jumping back to that, because when artists first tried to kick off with Web3 music projects in that market, there was a lot of pushback early on because crypto and its effect on the environment. The K-pop fan base was very upset about it. And so you've seen a slower adoption of Web3 projects for music artists in that space for that reason. But it's moving along now, actually.
And do you think that really, especially since we've seen Ethereum move from proof of work to proof of stake, do you think that objectives is finally sort of fading out and we have less objectives from that?
I think so. I think that now it's just education, pushing that message down and making sure people get it, and taking your time. Don't try to rush and force things on people. Take the time to explain how it works,
Well, I suppose it's like they say, you don't learn crypto, you live crypto. I don't know whether you saw the one of the pictures online that went about that bank that had the Bitcoin logo put on it the other day, and underneath it didn't say buy Bitcoin, it said study Bitcoin. And I think that's really, really important. And like you mentioned a minute ago, education is just, the fundamental thing we're all doing here, especially in the music industry. I mean, I go back 3 years to when I started my journey of a, company that's trying to do concerts and NFTs and in the metaverse. At the beginning, people thought I had two heads. They really didn't get it. But since that, and talking to a lot of record labels and talking to a lot of individual artists right now, as far as I'm concerned, and for the last, year to 18 months, they've just been bombarded by everything NFT and metaverse.
Yeah.
But they're not tech people. These are artists. These are musicians. They don't necessarily really understand it. I mean, a lot of tech people don't understand it.
Yeah.
Tell me about your journey of trying to help that along and how you think it's gone.
That's a very important point you just made. The dichotomy between tech people and music people. A lot of Web3, like you said, it started by tech people, the projects. And oftentimes that creates a sort of divergence in terms of what you need to do strategically to attract people to that project. And from an artist perspective, who are not thinking technologically, they're thinking about their personal connection with their fans and their music. You can't ignore that. Right. So music is culture, and culture is very important. It gives us our sense of self. It gives us our sense of how we engage with community and how we engage with our environment. It's a set of shared beliefs and principles that we live by. So if you ignore culture, and this is one thing that I push heavily at Gala, and then I push constantly, before Gala and after Gala, is that culture is extremely important in music. And anytime you launch a new music technology, whether that's streaming or downloads or any of that stuff, you have to consider the culture, both of the artists that you're trying to market and sell their content in one fashion or another, as well as the culture of their fans and what they want to see and who they are, what's important and what they value. Ignoring that will be to your peril, basically. I think the Web3 industry needs to learn that fast, very fast.